Burke's on his feet. He looks up and gives me a grin and says, "Hey dude, you too must be from Marin." Marin County's A-OK, from Tam to Stinson all the way to MA. Fresh organic veggies in the market every day. Lieutenant Dylan and NW.
Welcome to the Run TMC Podcast. That is the Run the Marin County Podcast, a podcast about basketball in Marin County. I am Duffy Ballard, and thank you to our supporters, The Hub, Batiste Rum, West End Nursery, North Bay Basketball Academy, and San Domenico Nike Camps and Jeff Skaggs. Getting that out of the way right away, Dave. And now I'm going to say hello and good morning. And how are you?
Duffy, I'm doing great. And nice job with the efficient sponsor call out. A first.
Yeah, you know why? I wanted to, thank them up top. We can solicit some new sponsors straight away, real quickly here, and then we can get into the badness. March Madness, great time of year, Dave.
Such a fun time of year. I was watching the reveal of the men's bracket yesterday. I then went to our end of the season team party for San Domenico, which was lovely. And then I came home and I watched the bracket reveal for the women's tournament. And I'm excited. I'm in the early stages of catching March Madness fever.
Sounds like a great day, Dave. That sounds like slightly more enjoyable than my day in the office yesterday.
Clearly.
There was no one who came in for psychiatric evaluation who was suffering madness based on March basketball related exposure. So at least there was that.
That's excellent to hear, although I would expect cases to rise this week, particularly peaking on Thursday. It's the best time of year, Thursday, Friday. I remember, and I mentioned this in our interview with Jonas Honeck, but I remember being at Branson and being in the library on the Thursday of March Madness and watching some tournament games on TV and Jonas walking by, and always a great day.
Yeah,
great weekend.
For years. Great weekend. Yeah, the first weekend. I mean, for years, we would go to Las Vegas, a bunch of buddies, and then just do the tournament there. And then we graduated as we got, a little longer in the tooth up to Incline Village. And then this year, Dave, actually heading to Denver and might actually see a game or two in person in Denver.
That is fantastic. Enjoy yourself. Have a good time. So we will, last year, we made some bold predictions, and I particularly received a lot of grief for my very poor predictions. But Duffy, I'm gonna stop short of making bold predictions for the entire tournament. However, I will say that upon cursory glance, I'm very excited about UC San Diego on the men's side, 12 seed facing Michigan, the 5 seed. I love that upset. And
why? Why?
Because UC San Diego, from the analytics side, was one of the most efficient teams, both offensively and defensively this season. They just had an unbelievable year and kept shocking people. And then, interestingly, the UC San Diego women have made the tournament as well. They're in a play-in game. And if they can beat, I think they play Southern. If they can win their play-in game, then they will face UCLA, who's the number 1 overall seed in the women's tournament. So pretty cool that UC San Diego men and women are in the tournament. But
well, Dave, you know that I was a Triton for a brief period of time. My first year in college, I was Triton. And back then, the NCAA tournament that UC San Diego was eyeing was Division III. So for me, it is odd to see them here in Division I with a chance to upset Michigan. And I will tell you, Dave, I don't know a lot about this UC San Diego team, but I did watch Michigan and their comeback against Wisconsin yesterday, and I was pretty impressed by that team, especially defensively, and that big guy Vlad Golden.
Yeah.
They are tough, especially in the paint, and they are really good. Talk about wall up and being vertical on the drive. That last play, if you saw it, Dave, where Wisconsin, I think it was Blackwell, drove in, and it looked like for sure he's going to score or get a foul call, but Golden just went straight up. And even after the guy had gotten sort of, totally blasted in the nards earlier in the game on a similar play, he still walled up and he took the hit. So yeah, very impressive. So Michigan to me looks like a tough out, but analytics, it's hard for me to, as a scientist, Dave, it's hard for me to argue against the analytics. I do love me some analytics, so I'm looking forward to it.
So to be clear, Duffy is a medical professional and NARDS is a technical term.
He got hit in the mesticles.
Yes, I did watch that game as well. Dusty May has done an excellent job with Michigan this year in his first season. It's been a really fun, a lot of parity. I also want to make a few call outs and then we can move on with our regularly scheduled programming. But the Cal women have made the NCAA tournament for the first time in several years. They got an 8 seed. So congrats to Sharman Smith, my old Stanford buddy. We were classmates together. She's a great coach. She's just one of those people who has a force of personality and kids gravitate to her. And she's built a great program at Cal after many years of struggling. So they're the 8 seed. They play the 9 seed Mississippi State. And if they can win, then they might have a battle in the second round with USC, Southern Cal, who's great, Juju Watkins and that crew. And then on a less happy tone, this is the first season, I believe, in 36 years that the Stanford women did not make the NCAA tournament, which is not surprising. They had some graduations and a few transfers, and it's kind of a rebuilding year for Kate Pay, but a fantastic freshman class coming in next season, including our friend Carly Amborn. But Stanford made the equivalent of the women's NIT, which they call the WBIT, and they will face Portland. And the Stanford men did not make it to the NCAA tournament, but they are in the NIT, and they face Cal State Northridge.
Dave, for a moment here, I'm thinking you're going to do the entire NCAA brackets for both of the men and the women in the same format as you did our NCS preview.
No.
And I'm actually hoping you're not going to do that.
I'll spare you. Just highlighting the local teams, Duffy. Also, USF men made the NIT.
Beautiful. I will say, I believe you and I both watched. We were texting during that Stanford game against Louisville.
Yeah.
And they looked great, and then they looked awful, and then they had a great comeback in the last minute and a half to close that 8-point deficit. And then they just got really unfortunate with the ball bouncing or being thrown in the wrong way at the end. I felt bad for them because I think if they win that game, they are in NCAA or they're close. I mean, they would have had more wins over power teams than North Carolina, and North Carolina somehow slipped in.
Yeah, it was cuspy. But just taking a step back before we'll not go through the whole brackets, but Tim Lacose, our friend, the Dominican women's coach, I was at a practice with him yesterday, and he was talking to some high schoolers, and he said, your homework for this week is to watch, the NCAA tournament. And I say that to my teams for years. Good basketball players watch basketball. And so this is the next couple weeks is an awesome opportunity for kids out there, whatever age you are, just watch these games. It's a great lesson in time and score situations. March Madness always has tight games down the stretch, and the teams that are composed and make good decisions and appreciate and understand the time and score, they're the ones who typically survive and advance. It's a great time of year to watch basketball.
Dave, I'm not quite done with college March Madness. I know we also have local Sacramento area March Madness, and you appear to be everywhere these days, Dave, and you have a correspondent report from Golden One Center just last Friday. A very exciting game. We'll get to that in a moment, but before we leave March Madness, a couple things. First, I'm really looking forward to the potential USC UConn rematch on the women's side, and that would be an Elite 8 matchup, I believe, after UConn got them last year. And Juju Watkins, wow, she just seems like generational. I know Caitlin Clark, generational, but you get back-to-back, those types of players. So excited to watch her play. And then on the men's side, Dave, I'm just going to quiz you and get your advice because, as we talked about last year when we did March Madness, there are different pools you enter. And one of the pools that we do, we've got eight guys that have been doing it for a long time. We have a draft pool, random draft order. It's a snake draft, and we pick, essentially pick 64 teams. and then you get a point for a win. You get a 1.5 for an upset win. So if you have a seed that is a lower seed and they beat a higher seed, you get extra points, and then you get 3 points for the championship. And we do the draft over email over a couple of days. Anyway, I have the second pick, and Duke went first. Who am I picking?
So the number one overall seed in the tournament is Auburn.
Mm-hmm.
Auburn's 2 seed in that bracket is Michigan State. I hate having to face Tom Izzo. A number of analysts think that Florida is the best team. I'm not going to give you an answer, Duffy. I'm just going to talk, which is typical for me. It's a tough call. I mean, so my quick answer would be Auburn, because I think Auburn, the body of work this year, and they're in a really tough conference. I think they're a good pick. A sleeper one that could be interesting is Rick Pitino's St. John's team that has 30 wins, and Pitino has been all over social media because he's so great at, motivating and inspiring, and has been doing it for so many years. But that team is very athletic and they play amazing defense. So I don't know. Auburn would be my quick pick for you, Duff.
Well, Dave, I am going to let you know that I already picked because I had to, and it was before you started giving me advice. And I did pick Florida because I've seen them play a couple times, and they just have 3 really excellent guards, and they got a couple 7-footers, and they just look really tough in the SEC tournament. I am a little concerned about their potential second round matchup where they could be playing 2-time defending champion UConn in that second round. That made me a little nervous, but I decided to go with Florida anyway. And then Auburn was next and Houston after them. And that's where we are right now. My father, Phil Ballard, if you're listening, it's your turn to pick. You've got the 5th pick, and you're going to have your choice, the number 2 seeds.
I was looking at the 8 seeds. It's funny you mentioned UConn. Obviously, back-to-back defending champions. Dan Hurley, such an interesting character, crazy, fabulous coach. And then Gonzaga is also an 8 seed, and that seemed very low to me because Gonzaga, battle-tested, great coach in Mark Few, always contending for Sweet 16 and beyond. So that's another sleeper pick.
Yeah, they made a bit of a run last year. I think they made it up until battling Tennessee in the Elite 8, I believe it was. So they're always candidate to make a deep run, and they have most of their talent back from last year. So yes, Dave. So okay, should we move on from College March Madness, and now let's go and we'll just play your clip from the summary from our friend Caden Course and her Marin Catholic Wildcats went to the state championship, and dun 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 dun,
they won.
They did. All right. Yes, Dave, you made the trip. I was hoping to make the trip, couldn't make it. Friend of the podcast, Tom Poser, was hoping to make the trip, couldn't make it. But I do recall a few years ago being there for the San Domenico girls when they won the state championship there. You were there, I believe, as well. Just an amazing venue to watch, a high school game, and so cool, win or lose, to have that experience of playing in an NBA arena with thousands of fans in the stands and just experiencing that. Lifetime thing. And KK gets to do it at age like 23 or whatever she is.
23. Yeah. So I filed a correspondent report, which we will play right now, and it gives an update on the game. It was a really fun day. I will say, I can't remember if I mentioned this in the report or not, but I left after the game soon thereafter because I had to get back. But the Division I girls championship was playing after MC. Following that game was the Division I boys game featuring Sierra Canyon. So Duffy, your good friend LeBron James, was in the house, and he rolled in apparently a few minutes after I left. So some people got to spot LeBron, who was there just to be a dad and a fan, watching his son Bryce as Sierra Canyon won the Division I title in a good game over Lincoln of Stockton.
And Bryce did not have a great game, but he had a really big and one bucket at the end to ice that game away. From what I didn't watch it, but from what I heard, LeBron was pretty pumped about that.
Indeed. They got the win.
Okay, Dave, thank you for once again an excellent correspondent report. We're going to play it now, and then we're going to come back and we're going to start to talk about our interview with Tasha Jackson, and we'll be right back.
Hello, Run TMC. Hello, Duffy. It's correspondent Dave. Pretend like I'm wearing a very official looking Run TMC blue polo correspondent shirt. We should get some of those made, Duff. Let's add that to the budget. Sponsors, we need you. I'm just providing a quick update on the state championship game. And unless you are living under a rock, I think you probably have heard by now that the Marin Catholic girls are your California Division III state champions. Caden Korst, first-year coach, 23 years old, Run TMC Season 1, Episode 3 guest, and a frequent correspondent, and one of our first fans of our podcast. And most importantly, our good friend, KK. Got the win. I think the youngest coach in history to win a state title. I mean, she can't even run a car, but she has won a state title as a head coach. It's pretty incredible. I am not at all surprised. I think our podcast has demonstrated our firm belief in KK as a basketball coach, player, guru, aficionado, and she did just an incredible job with that team. And it was extremely fun to follow them these last 6 to 8 weeks. It's been a great run for their team. They just gelled at the right time, which is what needs to happen in order to advance in the postseason. So they won. They beat Modern Day Catholic. I think the final score was a 10-point margin or so. It was a very close game. I think it was a 1-point game at half. And the start of the third quarter was actually pretty slow. I even sent a text message around to some folks that, wow, this is kind of an ugly third quarter. I think it was like 3-2 in the third quarter until the media timeout at 4 minutes. And soon thereafter, if I recall, KK took a 30-second timeout. I was sitting close behind their bench. I love watching her coach. And she called a 30, and she basically gave her team a talking to in KK's way, essentially saying, pull your heads out of your rear ends. And, we're dribbling too much into single gaps. We got to pass and cut. We got to move the ball. We got to do what we do. We're not doing what we normally do. And the kids took it to heart and went on what I believe is a 13-2 run. And all of a sudden, a close game became 11, 12-point game. And Modern Day Catholic basically spent the fourth quarter trying to claw back, and MC just kept making plays. Izzy McFadden, as she has done all year, led the way. She had 21 to lead all scorers. She was exceptional, hit some big threes, had some good finishes around the rim, had a bunch of rebounds. Jocelyn Jiganis is just so valuable to that team. I think Jocelyn had 8 points, but even more important than that, she had, I would guess, 8 or 9 rebounds and just always seems to be around the ball, every loose ball, forcing jump balls that lead to more possessions. She adds possessions for the team and does those little things that lead to wins. Brooke Spagnuolo was magnificent as the point guard. She didn't score as many points this game as she's done in prior games, but they didn't need her to. She brings the ball up against pressure. She's composed. I've coached against Brooke since she was a second or third grader. We always played against them in CYO. I don't think I've ever beaten her. Her mom, Nicole, a former player at Santa Clara, is a great person and fan, and I believe listens to the podcast. So hi, Nicole. But Brooke played a great game. Cece Bernay does all the little things as well. Just rock solid defender, tough, plays off 2 feet, hit a couple big shots. Sienna Frazier was solid, as always, kind of controlling the floor. She got in some early foul trouble, but she played through it. And then MC got some great contributions from their bench, as they always do. KK keeps shuttling in players. Simone Claxton, a freshman, had missed some shots in the first half, kept shooting, and then hit a huge corner 3 in the second half to extend the lead. Gave them great minutes. Neela Ryan, Michaela Marston, Bailey Baresh all come in, play hard, play defense, do the little things, get on the floor, know their role, and help the team win. Just a really fun team to watch. And then also acknowledge Sammy Riley came in at the end, a senior, a great kid, kind of a emotional leader on that team. Luca Rocket, another great kid who will get some minutes next year. So just a top to bottom effort. And you watch MC in timeouts and they're closely huddled together. They're connected. And culture and connectivity is what won the state I think, for MC. And that starts with their coach, Caden Korst. I'm just really proud of her and impressed with her. And I also want to absolutely give props to KK's assistant coaches, Dan Lucia, who was there with Ashley the last couple years and is just an unbelievable coach. He was a former head coach himself, knows the game really well, brings fire and energy and perspective to the bench. And then KK brought in Rick DiMartini, who won MC's prior state title back in 2002 when he had Brooke Smith and Nikki Warren and Adrienne Payne and that team. And Rick has been the JV coach for the MC girls, and KK brought him onto the bench for the postseason run. And he was just such a great stabilizing force on that bench, giving kind of wise perspective. And he's just a great guy. And so congratulations to Dan and Rick as well for huge contributions to this. And I'd be remiss if I didn't mention Ashley Saya. Ashley was at the NorCal game. I saw her from a distance. I believe she was at the state championship game as well. KK deserves all the credit for this season and this amazing run. But we also need to acknowledge that Ashley Saya played a big role as well. These seniors and juniors came up with Ashley, and MC's always had a great women's basketball program. So I won't say that Ashley built the program, but she certainly grew it and instilled in MC a deeper culture of excellence and multiple league titles, NCS runs and titles, NorCal runs. Every year when Ashley was at the helm, they were competing, and she set that tone. And KK picked up where she left off, and that's not easy to do. I speak from experience. I took over for Mike Fulton, and, I couldn't do what KK did taking over from Ashley Saya. So really impressed with all the coaches, all the players. The MC parents were fantastic, huge support staff, loud, encouraging their kids. Just a great team atmosphere. And I will say it was really fun to go to Sacramento. Kids, if you're listening to this, work as hard as you can and try to get to that game. Walking into that arena, playing on that arena, those bright balls on that beautiful floor in that cavernous arena, your name on the scoreboard, the announcer saying your name. It's a special feeling. I was there 2 years ago with my San Domenico team, and we ended up losing that game, and it was really painful to lose. And I'm just so proud of and happy for Marin Catholic that they were able to come away with the win. Because it's awesome to just get there and play in that game, but once you're there, you really do want to win it. KK was really smart in not falling into a trap that a lot of teams do, including my San Domenico team a couple years ago, which was to settle for outside shots. Obviously, the modern game is very three-point driven, but in that arena where you're not used to playing in a 20,000 seat arena where behind the glass backboard there's just space and seats as far as you can see, you're used to shooting in the Marin Catholic gym or the Archie Williams gym or Santa Fe High or Novato or San Marin, where the backdrop is, a wall. Redwood is kind of the unique one in that there are more bleachers behind the stands, but still it's not like the Golden One Center in Sacramento. And so I mentioned that to KK before the game, and she said, yep, already on it. Told them we're not settling for threes. And I thought Marin Catholic did a great job of incorporating the three-point shot. My guess is they were 8 or 9 for 20-ish, something like that. They hit their fair share of threes, but they did it in the flow of the offense. They weren't settling, and they certainly didn't just heave up a bunch of threes in the first quarter, which is what a lot of teams do. So really good game plan from KK. They tried to neutralize Mater Dei Catholic's post player. I can't remember her name, but she, number 25, she's a big girl. She had 15. She hurt them early, but then, as always, Marin Catholic just buckled down and figured out a way to minimize her and came away with the win. So congratulations, Marin Catholic. A big banner is on the way in Freitas Gymnasium. I don't know where they're going to put it. That gym already has a lot of banners in it, including a girls basketball state championship banner from 2002. So they'll find space. And big congrats. And Duff, that's what I got. This is Correspondent Dave signing off.
Okay, thank you, Dave. That was excellent. That concludes our March Madness segment of this episode. And now we're going to get into talking about our interview with Tasha Jackson. Dave, you're going to do an intro in a second. But first, I wanted to, if you don't mind, dish out a couple dimes, and they're related to our topic of conversation. And just follow up from speaking with Tasha, who was awesome, great interview. This is the type of content and expertise that is great for sort of any athlete, regardless of the sport, or any parent of an athlete, regardless of the sport. But one thing that I took away, so this isn't really my dime, Dave. I'm just sort of putting out front a dime that Tasha gave us because I put it to use immediately. And that is the athletic character. So she talks about in the interview, and I'll let her tell the story, but she talks about how she decided as a tennis player to have a persona on the floor, and she defined it in advance, and that helped her remain calm and focus herself in her matches. And so I thought to myself, that is a great tip to take to basketball players, and especially ones who, are high school level, and maybe they show emotion on the court in a way that, they may not even know, but it could be detrimental to themselves. It could be detrimental to their teammates, or the coach could look at them and say, why are they reacting like that? Why are they slumping their shoulders? And so that was to ask players who might, have that type of, volatility. Why don't you just go ahead and define who you want to be on the court? So you could be Steph Curry when you're on offense, and you could be, let's say, Gary Payton Jr. when you're on defense. Like Steph Curry, you're always under control. You're always looking for, the open player. You're taking a shot when you're open. You're not complaining to the refs. You might go up to them afterwards and talk to them if you didn't like a call. And if you're on defense and you're Gary Payton, you're in someone's jock the entire time. You're in their nards, Dave, and you're not gonna let them free. And you're just going to be intense, and you're going to disrupt the game with one-on-one defense. And that's the character that you're going to be. And so if you start to, it's not the real you, it's just your character on the court. And so you define that. And just like Severance, you come off the court, you're back to being you, but on the court, you are this character. So I thought that was really valuable. And I've used that with a couple players already, and, heard pretty good feedback in terms of, how that landed with them. So anyway, that's a dime from Tasha that I'm just going to emphasize up front. And another, am I speaking too much, Dave?
No, go.
You want to? Okay.
Go. I will go.
Yeah, so this was just a follow-up after talking with Tasha. I was listening to Slapping Glass podcast, great podcast we talked about before on the show. And they had a guest whose name is Brittany Loney. And she was, Dave, what is her title? She is like the CEO of Elite Cognition. So I think they provide, the mental focusing and optimization type of services to players and teams across different sports. Anyway, Brittany Loney, and she was talking about in the interview just a quick 20 to 30 second 3-breath technique for players, but also for coaches in terms of when you're trying to find yourself in the moment. Say it's a stressful, moment in the game. You look up you're behind in the score. Your players might be, the body language might not be great. You might be thinking about something else. You might be thinking about, the post-game meal. And so it's 3 breaths. First one is breath in. All right, where am I? What am I doing? All right. Second one is long breath. I'm going to relax. And third is quick alert. All right, I'm focusing on what I do next and what's my next move. Who do I talk to? Do I call a timeout? Whatever. 3 breaths, back in it. I really like that, Dave. And I apologize for the frog that is just March frogness has just gone down my throat. So anyway, those are my 2 dimes to just
those are great.
This conversation.
They're great dimes. I loved Tasha's recommendation on having a persona. I thought that was really cool. It reminded me of somebody years ago, early in my career. I was about to present, and I was really nervous getting in front of this group of people and talking. And somebody gave me the advice: just pretend like you're super confident. And that resonated with me. So when I went up there, even though I was nervous and not very confident, I was pretending that I was super confident. And that actually helped me get through it. And it's the same idea of taking on this persona. I thought that was awesome advice from Tasha, who's just really smart and thoughtful about this stuff. And then the deep breath thing is great. I think it's a deep breath in through your nose, and then you hold it for 3 long counts, right? And then you let it go. Really good way to center yourself. I wish I could go back to the 29 games I coached this year and do the 3 breath method times.
Yeah, I think there are different variations of it. We actually use in the ER, sometimes we'll do box breathing to calm people down.
Yeah.
And we have little whiteboards in the room, and I'll draw like the little box and say right here, in 2 seconds, hold it 2 seconds, out 2 seconds, pause. And it is, it's not for everyone, but I will say it's better than medication for some people in terms of just calming themselves down. But this breath technique seemed a little different to me. She didn't actually demonstrate it fully on the podcast, but it's like there's an intention with each breath. I think is what I took away from this. Like I'm practicing, 3 breaths and I'm back in it. And so how you actually do those breaths might be a little different from person to person, but there's an intention set with each of them, and you're just essentially within 20 seconds, you're back in it.
It's great stuff. So Duff, should I take some deep breaths over there? Should I introduce Tasha?
Let's do the intro and let's get going. Yeah.
So
please do.
So Tasha's a local, she's a Marin person. She's a local mom. She has 2 great kids in the schools, and they're both, athletes. Tasha's a clinical psychotherapist. She's an author. She's a speaker, a podcaster, a thought leader. And in her prior life, she was an elite tennis player. So she played high level through youth and high school, and then played Division I tennis at the University of San Diego. She was a torero. She spent a minute on the pro tour before transitioning into a non-tennis career. She's had multiple TED Talks. You can go to her website. It's www.tashajackson, TASHA Jackson.com. And you can see links to her TED Talks. They're really worth watching. They're excellent. And this was just, I think, a very informative and useful discussion about mindset and performance and dealing with adversity and dealing with stress. I think it's useful for, as you mentioned, Duff, kind of any sport. It's not really specific to basketball. It certainly translates well to basketball, but can be useful for coaches, players, athletes, young or old. I think she's just a really interesting person to talk to. I have a big player control on this one. We had some technical difficulties. Our podcasting software kicked me off, and then I rejoined, but my audio was really bad. So there are times where my voice is muffled and cutting out. So I apologize in advance, but I think you get the gist of it. Tasha's the one that you really want to listen to, not me anyway. So I thought this was great. We really appreciate her time, and hopefully it's going to be thought-provoking for our listeners.
Agree. And we learned a lot, including we learned that you and I are both probably on the HSP spectrum.
Yes. Tasha discusses in one of her TED Talks that she is an HSP, which is a highly sensitive person. And as I listened to her and watched her TED Talk and then was discussing this further with her in this interview that we did, I was realizing, that sounds a little bit like me. So,
me too. Same reaction.
Yep. So this was a great one. Enjoy it. Hopefully it's useful for you, and reach out to Tasha with other questions. She's great. She's a great resource.
Yes, absolutely. We really thank her for her time, expertise. She was wonderful. And before you listen, maybe it's time to grab a cup of coffee. And Dave, are you choosing hot or cold today?
Duff, it's funny you mentioned that. I was thinking of this the other day. I've gone hot coffee for at least 2 months straight. I haven't gone cold. I haven't gone iced in a long time. But now, maybe we're through with this rain and the weather's going to start to warm up, and I'll dust off the iced coffee. We'll see.
Okay. Fair enough, Dave. Yeah, I've been on a hot coffee run as well, and probably that will continue in Denver, I would imagine. But I'm going to Hawaii in April, so maybe that's when I get my cold brew going again.
There you go. Well, have fun. Have fun in Denver. Enjoy the NCAA. Fans out there, watch the tournament. Watch the men's tournament. Watch the women's tournament. Honestly, I think the women's tournament is just awesome this year. There are so many good teams. I'm really excited, including UCLA and USC both getting 1 seed. So we got some good West Coast representation. So should be fun.
Yeah, and if you're going to wager, do so responsibly.
Good job, Duff.
Yeah. All right, thanks, Dave. And take it away, Tasha. We appreciated your time.
Thanks, Duff. Bye.
Goodbye.
Okay, we are live. Hi, Tasha Jackson.
Hi, David Levine.
Nice to see you.
Good to see you. Hi, Duffy. Sorry to leave you out.
Good morning. Nice to see you.
So before we started recording, Duffy was telling us that he originally was going to be called Dusty, but that turned into Duffy.
Right, Dave. Would you like me to rehash that story? Because I'm not sure that's one our listeners will find.
It's not an exciting story, but I just want everyone to know, for the record, that he could have been Dusty, but instead he's Duffy, and we love that he is Duffy.
I'll share this.
Yeah, go.
My brother will love this. His name is Chris, younger brother, and there was a period of time where he would emulate many things that I did, 1.5 year difference. So for a brief period of time, he was Criffy. I was Duffy, and he was Criffy, and that did not stick.
Wow.
He's probably going to throw me some dagger eyes for mentioning that on the podcast.
Criffy. How do you spell Criffy? With Chriffy?
That's right. Mm-hmm.
Okay, Chris, good life decision to go away from the Criffy.
I find K's very funny, though. Like in comedy, like K's are funny.
It's true.
It's just the word is, yeah.
It's true. It's true.
I'm glad I'm not Kasha.
Kasha Jackson. All right. We are joined by the great Tasha Jackson. Tasha is a really fascinating person, and I'm thrilled that we have her. So she is a clinical psychotherapist. We've given her background. Tasha, we gave your background to our listeners before the interview, so we won't rehash all of it. But I view you as you're a thought leader. You're a very successful speaker. You're a podcaster. You're an author. Also, as we mentioned, you're a former high-level competitive tennis player. Played high-level D1. Played professionally for a minute. Had a cup of coffee in the professional leagues, as we say. You're also a sports mom. You're a mother of 2 fantastic kids. Your son, Jack, is a basketball player. He's a 7th grader. So really excited to have you to talk about kind of the mental side of sports. Mm-hmm. And it's something that is so important. And as a coach now, I look back on myself as a player back in the day, and I wish I had the tools that are available to players today back when I was playing many years ago. So let's start, Tasha, and talk about sports psychology.
Can I interrupt you for a second? I just want to be super clear.
Please.
That I am, even though I'm a clinical therapist, I am not a sports psychologist. And it's like going to the doctor where you go to a generalist and they know a little bit about stuff, but it's not my expertise. So it's like I come from the sports background. I have a little, I have knowledge of psychology.
Sure.
But it's like going to the doctor asking about ears, no throat. They can give you a little bit, right? But they're not going to give you the depth of a sports psychologist. So I feel like I am pulling from myself today, pulling from a little bit of psychology and a little bit of, just winging it here.
Fantastic. This interview is over. Tasha, you can leave now.
Wait, take a shirt.
No, I appreciate you saying that, and that's great. But I think you do have, given all what your disclaimer, which totally fair, I think you have some great perspective on this stuff. So with that said, why don't you give us your perspective on what is sports psychology and why is it important, given the fact that you're not a sports psychologist? But give us your take on it.
Well, when I was thinking about this interview of going, okay, what is sports and what is clinical? Like when I'm working with a client, I'm trying to get them to be a more peaceful place in their life. Just better relationships, happier, just more aware. And then with the sports, it's like you're wanting to actually excel in something. And that's not what I do with clinical work. They're making them happy. So it's a weird part of going, how much is it about success? And so that's that different part where if we're talking about sports, it's different for me to like kind of put the feelings aside in a way of like, oh, we're not going to think about that. How do we actually excel? So it's different in that realm. Does that make sense?
It totally does, but then it also begs the question of what is the goal, right? So, like for you, you were a high level competitive tennis player. I assume when you were growing up, you were driven to you wanted to be a pro tennis player.
I did, and I came to. I mean, I'll tell, I guess, a little bit of story. Maybe help people.
Yeah.
I started out, my parents were, I was blessed with, I didn't know this about my dad the other day. I knew my mom had played in the US Open, but I didn't know my dad had also played in the US Open. So it was just kind of a weird thing in a family that you didn't know until like 2 years ago that my dad was played in the US Open. So I grew up in a household where we played sports. We just went out and played tennis. And so my mom taught me, and I just loved tennis immediately. My brother hated it. I loved it. I just went out there and I had fun. And so the first year that I played competitively, I never won a game. And so those who play tennis, like there's game sets match, and I never won a game. And so the next year, I never won a set. So if you imagine going out and playing a sport and never winning, that was me, but I didn't care. I just had fun. And so I think there's this idea that you go out there and you have all the success, but I just love the game. And I think that's an important part of whatever we're doing in life that we want success, to find that way of loving it. And I'd love to practice. I'd love to like perfection, like whatever it is. It's like I wanted to do it correctly. And my mom was great with the idea of like, it's not about winning. So it wasn't about going out there. I think my dad has told me later on he had to bite his lip. Like, God, this is painful to watch. Right. Like, but my mom who was my coach, she just like was patient out there. And then it all kind of came together, teaching perfect technique, being consistent with practice, being intentional with practice. And then I just started getting success. And I still had that mindset that I started earlier on of it is about having fun and I hear I see a hand raised. And having that intentional consistency, I think, was the trick, not like, am I going to win? So that was the early mindset. I don't know if that was helpful. I'm forgetting your question now that I'm kind of talking about my history. So,
that's great. No, that's great. I mean, my question was more, and then Duffy, we'll get to you, I promise. Some kids just want to have fun. Some kids just want to be part of a team. Some kids want to play professionally. And are driven, and so everybody has their kind of their why of why they're playing, and that can change over time, right? You can start with, hey, I'm just having fun, I'm going to play multiple sports, and then you realize you have some success at one sport, and you start to focus on it, and then maybe this is my key to get to college, or so. Just when we're thinking about sports psychology and mindset, it's important, I think, for everybody, whether you're a 7th grader or 50 years old, to what's your why of why you're playing. Duffy, go.
Well, yeah, Dave, I'm sure you're the same. Like in coaching, I've talked a lot over the years about intentionality for kids when they're working on the game. In particular, when they come to an open gym, like what are you going to get better at today? And I find that, you can preach it, but it's very hard for it to be adopted by the vast majority of kids. So I'm wondering, Tasha, like this is kind of a nature versus nurture question. Your intentionality, how did it come from within? How, or if not, like how did it get nurtured? And what advice might you have for coaches and parents who are looking to instill that in their kids?
Okay, so this is a multi-layered question, and it's great. So there's a lot of ways I can answer this. So I'm going to jump all over the place. So, and I'll speak from my own experience. So my mom taught me very early how to be intentional. Like it was very precise. It was about technique. It was about hard work. It was like taught. It's like, how do you learn work ethic? It's kind of that atmosphere. We're creatures who adopt, right? So what is that atmosphere you're placed in? And you can probably see this of different teams you've played on, one that practices intensely and one does not. And who sets that tone and who is teaching that tone? And if you have a positive influencer on that team who is keeping that intensity, that is going to, people just adapt to their environment. So for me, it was placed as in this environment of this is how you practice. And I grew up in the Pacific Northwest where you had very little court time because of the rain. So you use that time well. And same with probably gym time and Marin, right? It's like this sacred thing. You go in there and you have a plan and you go work on it and you're intentional. So like, I think that motivation also like you're having fun and then you have success and then it builds on each other. And then maybe your goals change, right? And I think positive experience helps with motivation to do better. And so I think often with, I'm sure you guys have talked on your show, like old school coaching, the shaming, all that stuff. You just look at somebody when they're told something bad and their physical body is giving you the answer of how motivated they are. Their body goes down, they feel dense. It's like their weight goes down. How are you supposed to get them that intensity to go up and be loose, take risks, learn something new, be open to it? So I think there's that place of, you as coaches probably want your kids to go out on their own, practice things, be intentional. But I think it comes from being the positive in practice. I think there's the positive and then that push. You got to be pushed and you got to believe in the person. And I think that belief, if you truly believe in that person and are speaking that comes off. I think sometimes in the back of our mind, whether we want to admit it or not, we don't believe in a person. And so that we have to get true if you're coaching somebody. What is that coming from? What is that about? And then working with it and maybe working with the person. Maybe you have a gut reaction to this person of like, hey, I don't think their head is in the game. And then you talk about it. So I know I'm kind of going on a tangent, but I think, there are some keys to motivation of asking questions if you really sit down with somebody and go, if you continue on this path, like you're doing, where are you going to be in 3 weeks, 6 months, a year? And what you're doing is psychologically speeding up time. And you're seeing the actions of how it could go. And you can do this the positive way or whatever it is. And you also have to sit back and so this comes from a technique of motivational interviewing. And so you're trying to speed up the effect of what they're doing. And then give them like the sensory. I'm like, what does that feel like to be in this place of making this change? You're kind of giving them a future picture. And it could be bleak too.
Right.
If you continue not to go to the gym or stretch or take care of your injury, whatever it is, where are you going to be? And that kind of is a wake-up call for kids, right? You're like, whoa, or whoever it is. So, yeah.
So I have so many questions. I wanted to jump into coaching later, but let's do coaching now. And you're, obviously, Tasha, you're talking to two coaches right now. So in a pregame, I find myself when I'm trying to motivate my team and get them ready to get out on the floor, I've realized in some self-reflection that I often emphasize the negative. Like, okay, if we do this, we're going to lose. If we do this, we're going to lose. If we do this, we're going to lose. I assume that's probably not the best motivational technique as opposed to focus on the positive things. If we do these things, we will win. Mm-hmm. Right? Is that fair to say? Am I doing it wrong?
You're amazing.
Give me the answer, Tasha.
Okay. First of all, you're aware and you're here being conscious about your coaching. I mean, amazing. Let's just start with the positive, right?
I'm so amazing.
Yes, you are. Let's start with the positive. Like I would want you to start as a positive coach. Look at how intentional you are with your coaching.
Okay.
How does that make you feel right now?
Feel
See,
great.
See? Yeah. See, now you're more engaged.
Awesome.
So I think it starts with the goals of winning and losing is in practice. That's in practice, in my opinion. And I don't know basketball as well as tennis.
Yeah.
But when you get into the place of focusing on a win or not win, which is going to be, if you have competitive athletes, it's going to be in the back of their mind because they want to win, right? It's like the racehorse that wants to get going down the field. They want that. And if not, that's a whole different discussion. But for you to be focused on the action steps of what you want to see, that not the winning or losing, because then that gets people thinking. Thinking, oh, if we lose or not. And you don't want somebody to necessarily be in their head. They want to be in the sensory, to feel the ball, to feel the whatever it is, that cue positive words. You want to be implementing that. You need, as a coach, like, okay, I'm like hosting a party per se. What do you want your atmosphere of your party to be? Where do you want your intensity level? Maybe it gets too high. Maybe it gets too low, right? Where am I setting that tone Where do I want to be suggesting into my players? Like there's psychological suggestions. Do I want them to be moving my feet? Like, be very specific in my mind. Like, there's a part of like, oh my God, my kids are asleep out there, right? I'm like, okay, so you are literally planting the seed of sleep. And what do people do? They think of sleep, right? It's like this, let's be conscious. I call it the lifeguard suggestion. So lifeguards go say, walk, right? They don't tell you go run, right? That suggests running. So walking goes, okay, I got to walk. So what movement do you want your athletes to be doing? Say those words, because that's what's going to be in their head.
So that's yeah, and that's what I'm exactly what you're saying. So for example, using the lifeguard, okay, so they want you to walk, they don't want you to run.
Yeah.
So as opposed to saying don't run, just say walk. Like I for example, we were playing a team last night, and I knew that if we dribbled too much, we would lose the ball. We had to pass more, dribble less. So I kept saying to us in timeouts, you're dribbling too much, stop dribbling. And now I'm realizing what I should say is pass the ball more.
Yeah.
Like the focus on the action that we want to have happen, not the action that we don't want to have happen.
Yes. In the most part, right? It's still so tricky like that.
It's hard.
Because it's like it's not the end of the world to say don't, but do what you want. Have them lean toward the place, and it's suggestive, right? So that's perfect. And you could also emphasize in the positive, hey, Jane Doe, you are passing amazing. Keep that up. Leaning into the positive versus the shaming that I see. Like, oh my God, I like cringe when I watch coaches in basketball and they're talking to the bench about what they don't like. And like, oh my God, they're just playing blah, blah, blah. I'm like, oh God, you're building the tone of anxiety and tightness. The body tightens up. And that is not the performance we want to embrace.
So basketball is a intense, loud, frantic sport, right? It's indoors, it's sweaty, it's stressful. It's really stressful. You, through everybody, I recommend you search Tasha Jackson TEDx talk. She gave a beautiful speech talk about her neurodiversity and her neurodiverse mind. And you are a highly sensitive person, right? That is an HSP. So you were a tennis player, you weren't a basketball player, but there are other highly sensitive people out there, right? And maybe you can take a second and discuss what a highly sensitive person is. But I'm interested in how a highly sensitive person would respond to basketball coaching, like you're talking about. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'm an HSP as well. But when I was in high school, I had a coach who I'm great friends with. I like him a lot, but he was intense. He was tough. He was old school. You made a mistake, he would let you know and everybody around you know that you made that mistake. And it kind of made me crumble. And I wasn't very strong mentally to withstand that. What tools can you give to highly sensitive people when they're dealing with coaches that are being very direct and in some cases negative? Go ahead, Duff.
Well, maybe before you go there, could you tell us, because I watched the TEDx as well, which is awesome. Actually, both of the TEDx's, and you have 500,000 total views, which is amazing. If we could get that in the podcast, Dave, we're getting there. But anyway, could you help just define, how would you know if you're HSP? Because, I'm not sure. I was listening to the TED Talk. I'm like, maybe I am. I'm pretty sure my daughter is, but I don't know. How would you, before you answer Dave's questions, if you don't mind, just kind of speaking to that? I think that athletes might, it might be worthwhile for them to, assess whether they are on that sort of, where they are on the HSP sort of spectrum, which is probably the spectrum. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. So, Duffy, please butt in. You're the doctor here. So first of all, thank you for being vulnerable, Dave, and possibly disclosing that you wonder if you're HSP yourself and your experience with your coach. I admire that vulnerability here. So, and thank you for the accolades of going on stage. It's not my forte, but I've somehow done it. So they have found in all animals that 20% of these animals are more sensitive than the rest of the animal group per se. So like in fish, there's 20% of the fish who react differently to danger, and they can sense it beforehand. They pull back. They have this sensitivity that is different than the rest of the group. And so maybe it is the sounds or feelings or sensory stuff or feelings. It is more. It is just more of it. And so with that comes the good and the bad. And so you can be what's called a canary in the coal mine. You can kind of sense something ahead of time, which can be great, but you're like, oh, I'm feeling it, right? You're a little bit more hesitant maybe to go in and do something because you're feeling it a little bit more. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Maybe I also think of it, it's hard for me to differentiate because I'm dyslexic too, but I take it as you're taking more sensory things in. And with that, if you imagine a funnel, there's more things going down a funnel. And so when more things are in a funnel, it takes a little longer to process. So if you're that person who feels like, okay, yeah, I'm a little bit more sensitive than somebody else, and maybe there's a spectrum, I'm way over here or not, to give yourself that space that what I'm feeling right now might just take a little bit longer to process, and I'm feeling it deeper. Just that self-compassion as a coach or a parent to be aware, oh, this person needs to be talked to differently, and they may actually incorporate it more in the end, but it's going to take them a little bit more, and I may need to talk to them in a different way. I find that HSPs need a lot more validation, and that may feel like hand-holding today's thing, or maybe it's just really paying attention to who you're talking to. Does that make sense? And so, yeah, sound is a huge one for most highly sensitive people. So you're in a gym and it's loud and there's people talking and you hear more than somebody else. And then you have somebody shouting at you, and it's what happened often is they shut down. And so I've seen this with kids just watching, observing. I'm like, oh, my heart goes out to them because it's like they can't handle it all. And they almost need like those blinders to go on. I'll tell a story. I was at a Halloween party once, and I decided to dress up as a dog that came back from the hospital, and I had a big cone head on my head. It stopped me from drinking very much. And, oh, your poor dog is a cone head.
I got a cone head right next to me. Go ahead. Continue.
And the reality is it actually helped me be at the party because I didn't feel I could, was blocked out all the sensory things, which clearly I should just walk around with a cone head all the time.
Yeah.
But there's a reality of like, okay, if one of your athletes is like that, think of their world as a different experience. For you as a coach, you might have to take moments where it's like, okay, I need to be more grounded. I need to be aware of it. There's a trick that I teach people who are HSP is to close your eyes for 3 seconds. Most of our sensory comes through our eyes. So if you just close your eyes for 3 seconds, which you could do in a timeout, right?
Yeah.
Then you are just reset. And it doesn't have to be longer than that. You make routines of that kind of throughout your day to kind of just reset because you're having so much sensory. But that person on your team could be such an ally.
Yeah.
And the thing is once you open up the door like in your brain to what's called like the non-typical brain, you might have other aspects of ADHD, neurodiverse, on the spectrum. So it's kind of like once you go there, they may not have a full diagnosis, but you might be dealing with little sprinkles of other things. So it's hard to differentiate, but is that helpful?
Totally. So, okay. But you as an HSP, let's go back to your tennis.
Okay.
Right. Yeah. So now you're moving up, you're competitive, you're really good. You're getting a D1 offer. You played at University of San Diego. Is that right? Okay. Did you ever have coaches who were really demanding, at times maybe negative or hypercritical of you? And if so, how did you handle that? How were you able to deal with that?
I was perfect, Dave. So
I forgot about that part. I'm used to me and Duffy. Yeah.
Well, tennis is weird because we're not allowed to coach during the time other than college. So and I had a really bad relationship with my coach in college. This is a long story, but I'm trying to think of like, there's definitely weird things that happen that are distracting and negative. I didn't know that I was HSP. I just thought I was a mess. So, but the one thing that comes when you're slightly off the quote normal brain or typical brain is you can hyperfocus. And that is your gift. And so it's a gift and a curse, right? You can often you'll see it with ADHD individuals, like, oh, they can't focus, but they're hyper-focusing.
Yeah.
And so Michael Jordan was ADHD. He went out there and he like hyper-focused. And so I think that was actually what helped me being on the neurodiverse side is because I just hyper-focused. And I did take sensitivity more like someone saying back some comment like you can't hit a slice backhand. I know this sounds weird if you don't play tennis, but I never could get a slice backhand.
Yep.
And so it's like that little insult. And I'm like, oh, then I start thinking negatively about myself outside, right? And so that stuff can hit harder if you have more sensitivities. So I can't say that I had the negative coaching because I was really protective of that. I just didn't want to be around it. I think I instinctually knew it was horrible. So,
well, let's talk about self-talk.
Hmm.
So tennis is the classic example of this, right? The Inner Game of Tennis, great book, and Self 1 or Self 2, and discuss self-talk and how it can be helpful for players, coaches, competitors.
Okay, so there's many different places if we're talking like off the court. In the gym or out of the gym, wherever it is. So I think there is, okay, I'm going to back up. Correct me if I'm wrong with you guys. The best player is going to be the player who goes into the gym consistently doing that intentional practice. Are we correct?
Yes.
Okay. So to get there then, if you're having negative self-talk outside of at home in your environment, that is going to hinder the main goal to get into the gym consistently.
Right.
So you have these, are in psychology, or you can Google thinking errors, and there's a whole list of them. You have like discounting the positive. So you go out and win. You're like, well, they sucked. So then you completely discounted your motivation. There's overgeneralizing. Well, I'm just kind of a hack, So you're again discounting yourself. So all these thinking errors that can pop up that can block us from, again, getting back into the gym for that consistent, intentional training. So that is that self-talk that's happening outside of the gym that you can notice it, and then you got to talk back to it. And you got to have some support around other people that are going to block that self-talk. If your environment that's supporting, that was a problem a little bit in my college where we're all competing for the same spot. And then there's some nasty player is going to hit into your self-talk. Yeah, you don't really deserve to play there. Crap, that's not what you want, right?
Right.
So that just builds on your own insecurities and vulnerabilities. So that's outside of the gym. Now, when you're in the competition and you have self-talk, you can notice the thoughts. But if I was sitting there trying to help somebody mentally, I would say we don't necessarily want to be thinking so much. And that sounds weird. You can be tactical. Yes, do the passing, don't do the dribbling, right? You can be tactical, but you're wanting to do action thoughts or sensory. For me, it was feeling the tennis ball. Like, okay, if I'm thinking about the tennis ball, I'm thinking about moving my feet. I'm thinking about staying low.
Yep.
I'm in the action. I'm not in my head. Am I going to win? Oh, crap. If I lose this point, I'm going to be down 4-2. Right. That's not where you want to be. You don't want to be thinking about, oh, did my boyfriend show up? Oh, is he talking to that girl in the stands? Oh, shit. Right. Sorry. It's supposed to be PG.
No, you can swear. Go ahead.
Okay. I really told myself I wasn't going to swear. Okay. So I think being in those action words is where you want to be, and using your body to cue in to get out of. So you use the self-talk to build yourself up, and using really action positive words to get yourself into that. Does that make sense?
That's great. And that's really good advice. And I somebody told me this recently. Some coach told me, as a coach, don't be a scoreboard watcher. And I thought that was really good advice, because as a coach, your instinct is, okay, it's second quarter, we're down 6. You're looking at the scoreboard. And he was saying, don't watch the scoreboard, watch the energy of your team. And coach the energy of your team, don't coach the scoreboard. And it's really, really easy to say, really hard to do, but it's very similar to what you're saying, Tasha, but as a player, is don't think about, just focus really on the here and now, right? And the tactical things that are right in front of you. And it's such good advice.
Yay. I said something good.
You did it. Congratulations. Duffy, you raised your hand. Duffy, you raised your hand like 9 minutes ago. I'm sorry. Go.
Well, I was going to ask about other techniques for the HSP player in the situation. Like closing the eyes sounds like talking about action words rather than talking about outcomes or thinking about outcomes. So I was just wondering if there are other sort of simple tools that you might suggest for coaches or parents to give advice to their kids who might be HSP. And then I guess I have 2 questions, because I never know when you're going to call on me again, Dave. I also want to
It's exciting.
A little bit about how you can read facial expressions and body language in players, as a coach, perhaps more than anything else, to sort of judge when it's time to, intervene in some way, whether it's positive or negative, or just, asking them to close their eyes. It's something that I think about a lot, but I don't know that I do or say the right things in the moment.
I am really old. I don't think I can remember all those questions at once, but I'll try.
Duffy, stop asking all these questions.
Okay, so
can I speak again?
HSP, yeah.
No, I'm just kidding.
No.
HSP.
Okay, HSP. One at a time. Okay, one at a time.
And then, reading facial expressions.
Okay, HSP. So I think there's just a level of awareness with everything. I'm going to finish with Dave's question of awareness in the game of energy. I love that bit, because I think awareness of, and I'm going to get to the HSP, I promise, Duffy. So when you're dealing with that up and down intensity of it, it's like, where's your sweet spot as a coach? That's what I'd say. Where's that intensity? Because if you're playing too intense, you're tight, right? If you're playing not enough, you're not awake. So I imagine there's some level that you are, and then each player within there is different. And then what cues does each person have to get to that level of intensity? I'm saying action clues. Is it jumping up and down? And I'll speak for myself, is when I would win a first set and then the second set would start and my heart rate would drop, I'd be like, I got this. Whatever. I'd be out to lunch. I'd be thinking again about the boyfriend or what I'm going to eat or whatever it is. I mentally sort of I got this, and my heart rate dropped. And then suddenly I'm behind. And then you're like, oh crap. Then you start to wake up. So that's where the body-mind connection is huge. And you as a coach to be aware of it, and each player to be aware of it. And then how do you play with that? So for me, it's jumping up and down, literally gets your heart rate going, right? It's the mind-body connection. So then you're getting the intensity going by an action cue of the body. So for me also, it was getting really low, because that's where I performed my best technically. So it's like that technical cue to get that intensity going. And so to have those as a coach, as a group, and to have them individually, and to notice, we're not going to focus on certain things. What is it that makes us perform in that high performance mindset? So that's just to end, if that's helpful, Dave.
Excellent.
I just rambled
Love
on.
it.
You're looking at me straight.
No, that was great. Okay, so now let's get to Duffy's question about HSPs.
HSP. Okay. Okay. More techniques. So I think you're sitting on a bus, you're going to a game, and everybody's doing all this other stuff. There's a certain level of getting an HSP worn out. And I think being aware of that. Time that is completely quiet without having the sensory stuff drained is huge. So if, you're doing an away game and you don't have something until 5 o'clock, right? And they're sensory depleted because they've had to be on for all this other stuff. You've got a kid before they're going out there is burnt. So here's my positive example of it is, I don't know if any of you have been to the new Harvey Milk Airport. Have you guys been to that terminal? There's a point to the story. Have you, Dave? I see Duffy.
Yes, I have.
Okay. It's a sensory, lovely, they've done some purposeful things in there for it to be an HSP safer airport per se. I don't know if that was their main main thing. But there's no announcements. It's quiet. It is clean. There isn't this constant something that's hammering your attention without you noticing. So an HSP is paying attention to everything. You feel the liquor, the lights you've paid attention to. I hate like air on my face. You're aware of all these things consciously or unconsciously are coming in through the sensory because it's more. So the more you can take away that and keep it simple for your HSP, that's great. And you don't want to be drained before you go out there. So is that answering the question?
Totally.
Can't control what happens on the court, but
yeah, no, totally.
Anyways, okay, where were we?
Dave, that was very rude. That was very rude of you.
High five.
Can I add something to coaching when you guys are ready?
Please go.
Okay. So I think like if I was going to go back, and sometimes I daydream about like if I was going to go coach college or something, what would I do to be like the ultimate coach, and what would I have wanted? Because my college coach really just, we were not good. And I get along. I like to think that I get along with everybody. So maybe other people are listening to this going, hell no. Okay. So I would go in therapy. I use this motto, go slow to go fast. And so the idea is taking the time to really slice something thin. And Duffy was talking when we were in our little break here about interpersonal, something that went on with the team. So if I was to be a coach, I would have small little meetings all the time with players individually. And having that be where it's really listening to them and really making them feel seen and having different kind of conversations where it is, you know, them almost being highlighted for the positive things. Again, going back on the positivity, I see how hard you're working. And again, it's not this like hand holding, everybody gets a trophy, but it's really bringing out the positive for that motivation, the body. And I mean, to be a high performer, you need to be pushed. But in order to be pushed, you're not going to feel very comfortable being uncomfortable unless you're supported. And so I think that's that key part that people forget of like, how is that mental support? And then you feel much more comfortable pushing the edge physically, mentally, everything, if you feel like someone's got you. Go take that risk out there. Go take that shot you normally don't take. You know, do that thing. I've got you. Like, I'm hearing you. I'm seeing you. Does that make sense?
It does. I mean, I struggle with this. With modern technology, we have access to these great tools where we can watch video of our opponents. We can watch video of our teams. And it's a really instructive tool where we can play a game and then sit down as a team and watch video and, okay, here's what we did well. Here are areas we can improve.
Awesome.
And through this podcast, which has been phenomenal, you know, we get access to all these great coaches and players and folks like yourselves, thought leaders. And it's been interesting to hear the different viewpoints on the most constructive way to deal with constructive criticism for kids and for. So let's say we have some examples of plays that we made that weren't as positive and we want to correct. Should we show the entire team? Let's say we have one player who made a mistake. Should we show the whole team this clip and point out, okay, here's an area where this mistake was made? Or should we wait and have a one-on-one with that player and say, okay, here's an example of something that you did that we can do better? Like, should we, I don't know. I struggle with this. I just tend to have the whole team there and go through everybody and, you know, mistakes that were made, try and be positive about them, but be constructive. But I think probably the better way would be individually with each kid. Here's things that you did well. Here are things that you could improve on. Duffy's nodding violently.
Aggressively.
But what does your body language mean, Duffy?
Yeah, Duffy.
Subtle cues.
Yeah.
So I'll let our expert answer, but I do have my own opinion on that.
Oh, I want to hear your opinion first since it's so strong.
I do think it's a little bit player dependent, but I would generally be on the side of showing the player individually, going over the clips individually. And unless it has significant sort of team ramifications, in terms of like team execution, then I would keep it on the individual level, would be my answer.
Wow. I played like singles and doubles. So this is like way out of my realm of what to do. So it's like, it's like anything that's like shaming and the language you use is like if you want a high performance person, they have to get feedback, right? There's no like, you got to push them. There's got to be this uncomfortability, but how can they hear them? And I think I'll go on Duffy. It's like individual stuff and at an individual time. If you just went and won, like they played out of their mind, they hit 20 points and they're doing amazing. And you're like, you played out of your mind. Let's just soak this in. And I want to take you to the next level. I want you to look at this pass that you made right here. Let's do this differently. I think everything starts with the positive. Then you kind of sneak in the improvement. And that's like in the individual, you approach them on the court in practice going, hey, I really love how your eyes are open over here, but let's try to move it here. I think people are going to be open. You watch their body language. You go out there tomorrow or today in practice and you go start with the positive every time and then you give them feedback. I'd be curious of how it goes.
Oh, that's great.
I don't know. I'm winging this answer. This is not my clinical practice. But I do that with my clients. I'm like, hey, I really appreciate how you're doing this. And they're like, whoa, I didn't even notice that about myself. Okay, I'll keep doing that. Then I'm like, well, curious what you're thinking here. And then you kind of hear this, different space.
Yeah, Duff, I do agree with you that it is kind of player dependent, right? Some kids are easily capable of handling feedback in an open forum, and some would be better, more constructive in a one-on-one. So I guess it's a one size fits all doesn't totally work. But I have one kind of adjunct to this. It was a funny story I was thinking about. We had a game earlier in the season where we were struggling and we were down a lot late. And on the bench, though, I kept pacing up and down saying, we're fine. We're going to win this game. We're going to win this game. We're going to win this game. And we were playing really quite poorly and ended up miraculously winning the game.
Nice.
But I was consistent on the bench every time out. We're going to win this game. We're fine. We're going to win this game. We're going to win this game. And I was driving the van back to school after the game. And I kind of, in a moment of honest reflection, said sort of to myself, I can't believe we won that game.
That's a good story.
Shotgun, one of my best players, said, wait a minute, you said the whole time you thought we were going to win the game. Like, oh, of course. Like, it's the power of words.
Mm-hmm.
These kids really listen to everything you say and your energy.
Yes.
And so that was a good reminder. I was glad that I stayed positive on the bench, but I got positive the whole time. Anyway, go ahead, Duff.
Well, yeah, I forget which podcast I heard this on, but it was advice about sort of prepping your team for sort of an emotional moment in a game ahead of time and sort of prepping them that it might happen. So, okay, they're going to make a run. They're going to, score 10 points in a row. They're going to be ahead. The crowd's going to be fired up. They're going to be rooting against you. You're going to slump your shoulders. You're going to feel like, okay, we're losing this game. And then this is what we're going to do. This is how we're going to turn it around. So you're already sort of priming them to start to think about, all right, accept that moment. Coach said it might happen or it would happen. And here she already told us what we're going to do next. And I don't think we do that quite enough, but for big games, we do try and do it. So to probably some mixed success, but I do think that is a technique because they do listen and they aren't necessarily thinking ahead as being, especially teenagers. They're not necessarily going to visualize what might happen in a game. It's something a gift that we can give the players that hopefully they can accept and use.
I will say I do that all the time. And maybe it's I wonder if it's negative reinforcement, but I say all the time, they're going to go on a run. The crowd's going to go nuts. They're going to be high-fiving. That's fine. That happens in basketball. It's a game of runs. It's a game of momentum shifts. Just stay connected, stay together. I say that almost every game because it's true, right? I mean, basketball, things change so quickly. It's such an emotional sport. And again, it comes back to just the physical confines of it. Being in a loud indoor space right? Tasha, to your point about sensory sensitivity, right, for HSPs. I mean, like,
I'm going to take a different stance. Sorry to interrupt you, Dave. So
yeah.
I feel like we're kind of dancing around some different stuff, but I'm going to give a perspective of like just finding this awareness and centeredness for you as a coach and for you as the players. Like you're trying to create a narrative. That's what I'm hearing, Duffy. Like, oh, if I create this narrative, they're going to be prepared, right? Again, it's a thinking, right? Are we in there thinking, feeling, or are we in the moment, at the present moment? And where do we want them to be? And where are we going to talk to them about it? Pre-game, are we going to get them their adrenaline going and wear it out? Or are we going to prepare them so they're prepared for battle? Like there's so many different layers here. So I'm going to just maybe come from my experience. So I knew that there was going to be matches where I'm prepared to play some little phenom and the crowd is going to be rooting for them. And all these different things, like all these different factors are going on. I personally found myself, and I didn't realize until looking back at this, is I put on a character. And I kept getting back into sort of this quote character. So for me, this maybe sounds a little weird. It was sort of a mix of what you call like Chris Evert, who was more like elegant and focused and composed, and with Naval or whatever it is, hustling down every single ball. So I was going to play gritty, fierce, but gracious and kind. That was my character. And no matter what happened, I'm staying in character. And it was staying to those action points. I'm going to compliment somebody, and trust me, that it's like it plays with their mind. If someone makes a good shot, I'm complimenting them. Talk about bringing their heart rate down potentially and letting them relax. So it's like whatever it was, I was going to be a character that worked for me. So if the crowd's going wild, I'm staying like this. Ref gives me a bad call, I'm like this. And you finding that place where you come back to that centered place that keeps you focused. It's not like, for me, it wasn't, it's about what's that next point, not about if this happens. It's too far ahead. What is my body? What is the sensory getting to the moment that keeps me cued into this? Does this make sense? And I think if the coach is thinking, oh, this and this and this, is that helping the player? How am I going to, again, lifeguard talk to this player? You need to get low, right? You're getting low. I don't know. Is this helpful?
Absolutely.
Okay.
No, I need you on the bench with me every game. It's great. Resilient.
Stay low, Dave.
What was that?
I come back to this. My friend Tyler Gaffney, Duffy, my friend Tyler Gaffney, is a great coach. He coaches the San Domenico boys. He talked about he wants his teams to be present and resilient.
Love it.
And I come back to that all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Such a powerful message.
Mm-hmm.
Resilient. I think that what you're talking about really is just being present.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And how do you cue into that, right? Those are kind of big things, right? Like that's like, yes, I wish to be that. And now you break it down per player. Like maybe you sit down and go, what is our performance mindset? Like preseason, and then start to build it. Like, okay, each person's like, okay, what kind of quote for, if you want to take my character, what is your game face? What is it that keeps you in that place of level of intensity, level of focus? Because frankly, it's so much focus, right? What are your cue words for your physical? What is it that keeps you? Some people, if they're poking a fight or whatever, it gets their adrenaline going, it's fine. Other people, it makes them collapse. It brings the focus away. So I think this part of, resilience is great. But if you go right back into your character that works, you're resilient, right? If you want that persistence, your character has that, you're in it, right? It's like keeping that. You can go a little bit out, but come back. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, totally. Let's talk about what advice would you give players day of game? So let's say you have a big game that night or a big match that night, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Your pre-game, pre-match, pre-competition ritual. What would be your advice?
Okay, I have a bunch of advice here. And I'm going to say something really random, and it's going to come back to this. So the first part is not random. You got to have your base that takes days ahead of time. So that comes with training, right? We're back into the gym. If you haven't consistently, intentionally worked hard, you're not going to have confidence. right? You have to put that. He's gone. Dave's gone. It's okay. You got to have, that's
That
where
was
the
really
confidence.
rude, Dave.
I'm back.
Okay. You got to have confidence, and that comes in the gym, right? That's practice. So that's before day of, right? And then you've got your 2 days ahead of time. You're hydrating, you're stretching, you're doing your imagery, your good self-talk. You're hanging out with that one person who gets you, who can talk to you, who has that support that really knows whatever sport it is you're dealing with, basketball here. Okay. Then you got day of, and here comes the random thing that I didn't know until a couple of years ago. So I was reading this book, and it was talking about different hormones and the effect on the brain. And this, again, completely random, is talking about holding a gun can increase your testosterone like crazy. Just holding it, not shooting it, whatever. And why I bring this up is we don't really know how much we're doing during the day that's affecting our hormones and taking away our adrenaline. And do we giving that the mind, like thinking about that before your game? So how many kids are going to go play video games and drain their adrenaline? How many of them are going to be thinking about the game and actually draining their adrenaline? How many of them are sitting around, maybe just talking, relaxing? I mean, I used to play cards, listening to music, keeping those resources precious. So I think giving that mindset, I don't want anybody to have like a gun in their gym bag. I need a dose of testosterone in between halftime. Like, I'm not promoting that. I actually think my cognitive brain works really well with a shot of estrogen. So we don't necessarily know what it is that works well for us. So that's the cognitive, what is that? Finding our own balance of what am I doing into the day that's going to set myself up before I even start my walk onto the gym. And that our body is part of our mind and that helps it, right? Am I having a bunch of sugar? All that stuff plays a role. Okay, so going there.
Of course.
I think a routine that is body focused is super important. And using your sensory. Is it music? Is it stretching? Whatever it is that's calming and consistent. You're going to get to the gym. You're going to stretch this. I'm going to work on my breathing when I do this. I'm going to work on this imagery. Maybe it's visual. You're thinking sensory. Again, you're not going to the thinking, oh my God, this is the game. This is it. If I don't win this, I'm not going to have recruits. Jesus, right? You're you're right into all that. No, we're already starting the being in our body and being in action state. So having maybe our breath calm us. So you might have somebody else who needs to, I have a really, really low resting heart rate, and that's can be a problem with competition.
Right.
I'm not intense enough. If I'm not intense enough, it's like, oh, Jesus, right? I'm not hustling down that ball. And so that's per player, per coach, knowing your team and your team dynamic. So that would be my part, watching what you intake, what you're around, and then having that routine visualization is another huge one. If you can just imagine yourself having a positive experience, whether it be, okay, here's my visual of doing a floater. Here's my visual of defending.
Yep.
That is literally practicing without depleting.
Love it.
That was a lot.
So kind of related to that, we talk about flow state. It's a catchphrase that people use. Give me your take on how do you get into flow state?
I would, if I was again coaching and having a team, I'd have everybody think about that time that you were in it. And then you just work backwards. What were those things? What did it feel like? Were you happy? Were you smiling? What was that image that was going on for you? And then take it from there. Pull out the action adjectives. Oh, I was floating. I was thinking about my body. Whatever it is, it's again getting into, especially if you have some HSP people, it's sensory. And have them label it and have their cue words. Because when you're in it and you want to get back into it, you cue into using that, talk to yourself in that way. Oh, I need to be happy. Then you may not be able to do it. Then you use your body. Well, I had my shoulders loose. I had my body low. That got me into that flow state. And so you just be aware. Am I in it? Am I not in it? How are my cues? What are my things I say to myself? What is the body cues I have to get into that? So And then don't like kill yourself and gaslight yourself if you're not in it, going, damn it. This is like, stay in the present, start again. It's okay. Do not go into the past. That is just a performance killer.
Well, I think that's a great segue into another topic that I think is really important is, I don't know how to say it, but just giving yourself a break, right? I think we're so hard on ourselves. And Duff, I know you see this, the kids that you coach. I certainly see it with the kids that I coach, where they wear the mistakes and they get so down on themselves. And it's, how do you, again, back to resilience, right? So yeah, you want to get in that flow state. And if you're not in it, you get so down that why am I not performing the way that I want to? It's really hard to just convince those kids to just move on and focus on the next play and give yourself a break. Have some grace.
Mm-hmm.
Give yourself some. Go, Duff.
Yeah, that's line of conversation that we talked about beforehand and sharing questions, but dealing with failure and, not just, in the game itself, but afterward. What advice might you give coaches if they're walking into the locker room and the team has just lost a close game,
Mm-hmm.
and the kids are feeling dejected, the room is really quiet, and obviously every situation is a little different, but what would be, a philosophy for dealing with that scenario?
Okay, so I'll start with Dave's first, then move on to that one. I think what coaches are modeling is huge. So take a look at yourself. That's all we can control is ourselves, right? We can hope things for our kids, but are we focused on the past? Are we focused on missing that 3? I watched a coach 2 years ago bring up a previous game in front of another 10-year-old. Oh, you should have hit that 3 in front of the whole rest of the group. No. Like, move on. And who really cares, right? These 10-year-olds. Like, not to demean 10-year-old sports, but so what are we doing as coaches? What are you doing as a coach? Are you staying in the moment, modeling that, continuing to keep that boundary for your team? Are they going there? Call them out on it. Hey, we've moved on. We took a shot. Way to take that shot. You are setting the tone, the language, moving forward, and you don't let it happen within that group. Hey, no, we're staying present. And then you get to something sensory and move on. And I call my clients out on gaslighting themselves in their personal lives. I'm like, okay, so what voice is this right now? Where is this coming from? If you take that personal time, who is talking to you like this? But this is being said, I, as an athlete, was so crazy hard on myself. It's so intense. And that is also what got me where I was. So it's a double-edged sword. If I wasn't in there just drilling it the next day, I could not do this, not do this, not do this, do this. It was fixing that little tweak. I don't think I would have gotten where I was. And granted, I still think I was sort of a failure because I didn't do it enough. So that's that rub where I'm like, yes. And we don't want to totally take it away, because if you've got a perfectionist on your team, that's going to push the performance. So it's maybe that's really bad advice because I'm not really a sports psychologist.
No,
so
it's a great point. And actually, my kids get annoyed with me when I tell them this. My daughter, Lucy, will, before games, she'll be nervous and she'll have butterflies.
Hmm.
And in the car, I've said this to her for years. I said, that's good. Butterflies are good. That means you're living.
Yeah.
You're doing something that's challenging yourself. And I was like that too.
It's such great advice. And I would add to it as getting into her body. Here she's communicating, right? And now we're about to go do something physical, mind-body connection. Can we take, so she's giving you verbiage that I would guess it's here, right? Now, where do we want to be in that sweet spot, right? So we take a deep breath, body connection to get it down. So we're regulating. So here it is. She's up, she's tight. How do we loosen it down? So this constant, where do we want to be? You talk to her in her mind. Great. Let's talk to her in her body too, because this is a body-mind connection event, sports.
Right.
Okay. Duffy's question. I do not mean to ignore you, but I don't know why my face is blocked here. So I'm going to play around here. I don't know why. I'll just ignore it. Okay.
We can see you.
Okay. I can't. Okay. There we go. Okay. So your question was, God, my memory is really bad. I feel like I'm ignoring
We just lost
Duffy.
the game. Yeah, I
Okay.
know. Dave is always like preempting me, but it's the world I live in.
Yep.
You're walking in the locker room. The team just lost the tough
Yes.
one.
Yeah.
Body language is horrible.
Yeah.
They're dejected.
Yeah.
What's the philosophy for managing that moment?
Yeah. Okay. This is a tricky one. Again, I did individual sports other than doubles, but group dynamics is interesting. So let me just, you know what? I'm going to go on a tangent about group dynamics, and maybe that will answer our question of what to do here. Because I do believe that coaches have this place of creating narrative. And what kind of narrative do you want to make? Because you can do edits, you can redefine this, you can do whatever, and then you've got all the individual factors of everything else. But okay, so I look at groups and certain things happen. I was trained in systems theory. And so you have, let's say, a business, and you've got your CEOs up top. This, in instances, would be their coaches and your athletic director. And then you've got, your CEO below. Then you have middle management, and then you've got your interns, right? And in a theory of a company, you do not want your interns to be working as the CEOs because they were inexperienced, they don't know what they're doing, and it's too much pressure on them. But what can happen in a system is people start to play different people's roles. And that's when shit happens, right? And so your job as the CEO is to keep everything sort of in the right system. And what can happen in a team is often people will push that boundary, right? You got players who want to play coach, players who are players on the same level who are trying to be the CEO or the coach of the player. So that is sort of a dynamic of how do you want your system to be running? And a good system has healthy boundaries, people on the right level of their system, and it to be, yeah. So it's not really, so that is just something I encourage you to think of as a coach, that you're in charge of the system and feel empowered by it, but you have a right to kind of where do these boundaries fall? Now, within a system also, in a group, people tend to reenact what they had in their own family. What role did they play? So were they the person that often was just kind of scapegoated for a problem? Were they the one who kind of was the funny one? Were they the one who actually acted like the parent? So when they're in a system, they start acting like a parent, even though they're not a parent. So it's just a lot to think about the psychology of a group. But here you have all these people coming from different families who may reenact whatever's going on in a group.
Yeah.
Did I lose you guys?
No, it's absolutely, I'm with you.
Okay. Okay. So now you're going back into the scenario of your quote family, your CEO, your business here is going back into I guess I would empower you. What do you want to get out of it? What do you want as that CEO to long term of this company per se, right? And I think there's a part of the short term goal, the long term goal. And if I'm thinking as I'm trying to develop a high performance player long term, I want them to get back in the gym. That's my take. And what's going to get them back in the gym?
Yeah.
And to learn and push, right?
Right. Yeah, I would say I don't know exactly. I wouldn't sort of script that sort of moment ahead of time, but I would want them to soak it in, feel the moment, have it be a motivating moment, and then get back to work. And then the learning about individual mistakes or team mistakes, that probably should wait because they're probably not in a frame of mind right after a game. It's too emotional to be able to go back and revisit, particular plays or, failures or whatever it might be. So.
Yeah. You know what? I'm just going to add to just thinking about this of, there's a moment when you're collectively emotionally experiencing something together. And maybe that's a moment where you're labeling the feelings for the team, or you're asking your team to kind of bond. What are you feeling? Because they're feeling something and you're connected with it. So good for you, Duffy. You're in tune with it. So here it is. Let's put it out in the room. What are you guys feeling? And stay with the feelings versus the thinking, because then we can get blame and self-blame, but have that moment to be a bonding. And maybe that's the goal of because we work through feelings, so we have to express them. So maybe that's, again, I don't know, but it's my thought process.
I like it.
Do you think, Tasha, these things are different for girls versus boys?
So I read this book, and I don't know, it was like 15 years ago, but it stuck with me. It's called Top Dog. And it was a organizational psychologist who wrote about like competition and genders and what makes this one person, blah, 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 blah. And it was interesting, the fact, so I don't know if it's held up through time, but I was struck by how in athletics, guys, and tell me if I've never been in a men's locker room or on a men's team, but if there's somebody who is like the Messi, who is like really excelling, and let's just say they're a total jerk, but they're still the best, there's still a level of respect for them.
Right.
And it's like, okay, they can be in a group dynamic, have somebody who's a top dog, and they respect each other. Women, that's not necessarily, girls, not necessarily true. They tend to be a little bit more in dyads and have their, if they've got their person, they're okay per se, but there isn't necessarily this respect of this person's that great that they're going to, the same respect that a man has. So then you have a male coach come in and are they aware of this difference? And is this always the case? No, these are just total big paintbrush kind of thoughts. But, also is a man coming in having this tough voice, or maybe an HSP, right? Yelling at them. And are they projecting stuff that's happened to them in their life of a harsh man yelling at them, and they're used to a different experience? So there's so many layers to this. I don't know if this is helpful.
Complicated. Oh,
yeah.
Tasha, you're awesome. We've reached crunch time.
Yes.
Duffy and I do not know what we are going to ask. I jotted down a few, Duff. What you start.
What's crunch time? You have to tell me what crunch time is.
Crunch time.
Yeah.
It's the last segment of the interview, Tasha. We do rapid questions.
Okay.
They're usually good, lighthearted in nature.
Oh, like, God.
What's the meaning of life? That kind of stuff. Go ahead, Duffy.
Okay.
Yeah, normally we would give them to you in advance, but we haven't, so we apologize. So you're just going to have to wing it.
Awesome.
Yoga or meditation?
Meditation.
All right, wait.
This is easy. Done.
Can we go back? Can we ping pong this?
Yeah.
Okay. Tasha, favorite book?
Oh, God. I don't know.
Be a good book.
Pass. Can I call somebody?
You can phone a friend.
I don't know. I'm a total junk. I don't know. I pass. Honestly, it's too much pressure. Can't name one. Yeah.
I get it.
Skinner or Sigmund Freud?
What was it? Skinner or Sigmund Freud? I mean, Freud's just kind of the man. I mean, he's totally sexualized. I mean, Skinner's awesome, but it's like, how much can you ring the bell for the dog? So he's actually probably more useful in our life because we're probably more, but Freud's just the man. He started it all.
Yeah, he did.
Okay. Favorite all-time tennis player?
Oh, I like Nadal. Like, he's just like he just grinds it. And you know what? There's one thing that you have genetics or training, but when you have heart, that's it. His heart.
My favorite story about Nadal. Apologies.
Oh, here we go.
I'm probably butchering it. Tasha, crunch time usually drones on and on because I drone on and on.
But I love it.
Wimbledon, the great years of Federer, Nadal, those battles. Federer would stay in like a palace, like this real, like Federer's a great guy, but
yes,
he's Federer, right? He's big time. He's super wealthy. Stay in this like fancy place, and Nadal would stay in like a cottage.
Love it.
In squalor.
I love it. He's my guy. I love it.
And that's
he's just all so focused, so great. Yeah, I want to live. I wish I would have went. I went to a tennis academy. I wish I would have gone to his. That would have been amazing.
Go, Duffy.
All right, this is a double stuff question, a twofer: hot coffee or iced coffee?
Hot all the way.
Okay, and what about sauna or cold plunge?
Oh God! Again, I'm an HSP, so it's like I have to be Goldilocks, somewhere in the middle. Like I'm a surfer, so it's like I don't like either. I just like I'll go sauna for a second. Yeah,
sauna, a tepid hot tub.
Yeah, with a few like floating, grossness in there, some STDs.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
Favorite podcast.
What's that? Favorite? Oh, gee.
Not
I don't know what to say here.
Don't say.
My daughter's gotten into hard fork. This thing's falling here.
Yeah.
So I really like the guys on hard fork. I think they're really funny. Yeah, they crack me up. I need something that's funny, challenging me. I'm kind of a little bit into the broadcasts. Ted Ferriss is okay. I think he's a great interviewer, but I get a little tired of people talking about themselves all the time, even though that's just what I did for the last hour and a half here. Yeah, I think Up First. I listen to Up First every single day.
Up First. I don't know that one. Okay.
Yeah, it's 15 minutes of news. Start your day.
I like the New York Times Daily.
Yeah, it's compressed daily. Yeah. Okay,
yes.
Cool.
Try it and tell me that you're not like, yeah. And then the Wall Street Journal, I actually think is better than the Daily. I used to be hooked to the Daily. Now it's the Journal.
Okay. All right. One more, Duff. You got one more. I got one more.
All right. Well, this is one we do with pretty much everyone. Favorite restaurant in Marin?
That was mine.
Takeout? Is that an answer?
DoorDash? That's Holden's favorite.
Tasha, that was a cop-out.
Yeah, you got one. Come on.
That's like food?
Okay, there is a restaurant in Sausalito, that Mexican restaurant. It's like Cachi or something or whatever. And they have this cabresa. It's a lamb quesadilla. And they make this spicy margarita that is to die for. You'll never spend so much money on a freaking quesadilla. And I don't even like cheese that much. But this thing, you will go there and you will feel like you've just like discovered crack.
It's copita, right?
Yes. Thank you.
Yeah.
Spicy margaritas are insane. And even if you don't drink, they'll make it virgin for you. So.
Right. Spicy margaritas are great.
Yeah. What about you guys? What are your favorites?
Ooh. Go ahead, Duffy. The Hub.
Well, yeah, it's hard to not mention the Hub. I did love Iron Springs Brewery when it was still around. It used to be kind of our family cafeteria. The food was just, pub food, but the atmosphere just very welcoming and family friendly. But yeah, nowadays, I guess I'll have to go with our sponsor, the Hub. Party Line. And both my kids work at the Hub, so, how can I not say the Hub? Although maybe it actually isn't the Hub. We'll have a side conversation.
I like Buckeye. That's always my favorite.
Yeah, good choice.
It's nice.
It's nice. Tasha, thank you. This has been amazing. I apologize for the technical difficulties, but this is a low budget, authentic podcast. It's part of our
show. Love it.
But just such great thoughts on a variety of really important topics. And I'd love to continue speaking with you about this stuff. Okay, where can people find you? Like what?
Wandering the streets of Kentfield.
Pretty much. Usually.
Yes. I put a newsletter out every month for free, and I try to give like little technical stuff. It's on my website, www.tashajackson.com. Very easy. And I have a ton of resources there. So if you want to learn more about HSP, it's on there. My TED Talks are on there. One of the favorite things that I've ever done, which is totally not in this realm at all, was I did a serial killer podcast. I was on, and they gave me a whole briefing, and I had to give a psychological breakdown of a serial killer. It was so much fun. And so I think that link is on there too. That's just like, if you're just like want a fun pleasure, that's probably, I think, something that that was super fun. So there's resources on there. Sign up for my newsletter and then you just get a free, but otherwise just, say hi to me. That's the best way to, I'd rather in person. Don't send me emails. I hate emails. I'm trying to get off social media. So if you write me on social media, it's just like, I just can't. I just no more. I'm tired of it. I can't support Zuckerberg either or anybody else. So, and I'm trying to think of what else. Yeah. If anybody's ever, I'm clinical therapist, but if anybody wants to talk to me about this stuff or have me talk to their team, I'm happy to brainstorm, sit down with anybody. I love talking psychology. I love it. And I don't necessarily have the answers, but we can brainstorm together. Yeah. I just like it.
Awesome. We'll put your link into the show notes, Tasha.
Sure.
Yeah.
And then another time, like, we'll get the breakdown on how similar is Dave's personality to your serial killer's personality. Look at that look it's giving me. Yeah, I knew it. I knew it was in there.
Since there's like a dog lurking in the background with like a hurt neck, it does look a little suspicious, right? It's like,
that's right.
Hey, at least I didn't answer takeout to my favorite restaurant. Okay.
I do what I can. It was so fun talking to you guys. And can I give one last bit of advice if like I'm really advicey? Like
Please.
To step back and like, I think the big part of just looking at our own stuff wherever we are, like as coaches or parents, like what was our experience? And are we coaching from within? Like I was telling Duff on the break of like some coaches are just coaching because they haven't had that really, really good coach. And so they're only coaching the best they've ever had. And so it's like, okay, looking at that and like growing from there. As a parent, like where are you coaching from? Like, are you coaching only from your experience? Just to like grow and learn. And I don't know. It's hard to be in those positions, but have fun. Great. Yeah. Sports are fun.
You're going to be a great resource for me as I continue my coaching. Because even just this, whatever hour and a half that we spoke, you've opened up a lot of new ideas. So,
yay! I'll be honored.
And our practice is at 4:00 today, so we'll see you in the team room at 4:00.
Awesome. All right, Tasha, we're gonna leave. Do not hit any buttons. Okay. Bye.
Bye.
Burke's on his feet. He looks up and gives me a grin and says, "Hey, dude. You too must be from Marin. Marin County's A-OK, from Tam to Stinson.